A lot of times we can get caught up in just keeping things in for 3 weeks at a time and then feeling a need to rotate things out. But if it's a new movement or a new bar, something that they haven't been exposed to, there is a lot of value in letting your athletes get some time with the bar, get a lot of time with that piece of equipment, and start to build a skill of squatting with the safety bar, pressing with the neutral grip bar. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Lucas White, assistant strength and conditioning coach with Penn State football. Out here at elitefts, just wrapped up our episode of Table Talk. I want to take a handful of minutes and just kind of talk to you guys about using specialty bars in a team setting, why they're helpful, and then if you do work in a team setting, why you should think about implementing them within your training if you have the ability to do so. So we talk about specialty bars. What are we talking about? Well, it's going to be anything different than just your standard barbell. So SS yoke bar, a camber bar, buffalo bar, some type of neutral grip bar, anything that's going to be different than a standard barbell is what we're going to be referring to here. Okay. Big question. Why are they helpful? A handful of reasons why these pieces can be very helpful for you and your athletes. It gives you the opportunity. You can start to push strength and push development without causing unnecessary mileage or wear and tear on your athletes. They're already going to get enough from playing the sport, from practicing. The last thing we need to be worried about is someone banging up their shoulders, their elbows, or wrist, on a traditional barbell, especially during the competitive year, and we'll get to that in a second. It's going to give you a lot more opportunities for development. So, if you have the opportunity to introduce some of these bars, I think where you'll find some benefit to it, especially in an off-season period, it's going to give you the opportunity to start to identify some areas of some gaps within the group you're working with. Especially a good example, if you're using a yoke bar or some type of safety bar, and you kind of struggle with that, there's a good chance someone's going to get pitched forward in the squat. So from there, you can attack the weak area of the squat that needs to be bolstered up, and also too, you can do it without causing any unnecessary mileage or unnecessary wear and tear, on the athletes that you're working with. And really too, kind of going with different opportunity or options for development is also going to give you more options during the competitive season. My opinion, when you start talking about safety or specialty bars and where their value is, I think if you're exposed, and again, my opinion, I think if you're exposed to them, if your athletes are exposed to those bars over the course of the year, I think whenever you have to revert back to some of those during a competitive year where you still need to train certain qualities, but you need to do it with the athlete in mind and the competitive season in mind, so you're not going to cause any unnecessary fatigue, wear and tear that a normal bar may place on somebody. I think that's where you can find a lot of value and a lot of benefit to having these in your weight room and using these throughout the competitive year. The really good questions too is where do we start? Coach, we've got these bars in here, but we don't exactly know where to start or where to begin. What's a really good start point? What I've done before, some of the teams I've worked with, I'll use it as a secondary movement. So instead of making this, say if it's like a safety bar squat, and no one on the team has been on a safety bar, at least you probably assume that everyone's been on a straight bar before, a normal power bar before. If they haven't been on a safety bar, instead of worrying about making that the main movement that you're going to try to get your intensity or you're going to get your speed out of, depending on the quality you're training that day, just go ahead and put that as a secondary. Use the tool that they're already familiar with, so you can at least accomplish the goal that you're trying to accomplish from, you at least train the quality that you're trying to train that day. You can get that work done effectively and quickly and easy. But at the same time, now we can take a specialty bar like a yoke bar, and we can move that as a secondary. And now that gives us the opportunity to teach without feeling like, we've completely lost a day because we've been using a piece of equipment that not everyone's going to be familiar with, right? So using it as a secondary movement, I think that's a really good place to start. I also think too, it's really beneficial to keep it in throughout an entire training cycle. A lot of times we can get caught up in just keeping things in for 3 weeks at a time and then feeling a need to rotate things out. But if it's a new movement or a new bar, something that they haven't been exposed to, there is a lot of value in letting your athletes get some time under that bar, get some time with the bar, get a lot of time with that piece of equipment, and start to build a skill of squatting with the safety bar, pressing with the neutral grip bar. If you have buffalo bars, squatting or pressing with those, that sort of thing. So don't be afraid to keep that in within a whole 6 to 8, 10, 12 week period of training. You can use different loads. You can use, it. God damn it. Fuck, I was fucking rolling there too.
All right.
Let me go again.
We won't start over.
Won't start over? You can just cut it?
Yeah, we can cut
Okay,
it, so
cool.
kind of pick up where you left off.
Okay, that works. Yeah, so you can certainly use it, Keep it in throughout an entire training cycle, somewhere between like 6, 8, 10 weeks, 12 weeks. Don't be afraid to let them kind of marinate and get used to what that bar feels like. And again, You can also, like, as far as like where to start weight wise, man, low ball the starting point. Again, if you're going to use this as secondary movement, it doesn't need to be something where, hey, we're going to make a working max for this based off your squat or your bench data that you have, and then boom, we have a working max for this. Man, a really easy spot to start. Take again, say if we're talking the squat and we're talking about the yoke bar, man, just take somewhere between 50-60% is probably a decent spot to start. If you really wanted to, I would low ball it, just start at 50, and then let them get some volume through sets. So that way, instead of doing like a 3x5, just roll a 5x3, and that gives you an opportunity to keep fatigue at a minimum, and they get a lot more first reps and they get a lot cleaner reps, so that way they can practice and build the skill of handling a bar that they're otherwise not used to handling. And again, too, once they start to get a little bit of a skill set, you can either, if you like to run something where you have a dynamic effort up or a lower day, that's certainly a really good option to use on that day. Or if you just like to have a secondary press or secondary squat day, and you after a little while, and you want to try to start to get a little bit more load on there, increase the load on the bar, man, certainly that second day of the week, you can also do that too. But again, I think where this is going to give you a lot of bang for your buck, especially as a coach that works within team sports or field sport athletes, especially during the competitive season, you got to think about practice, you have to think about games, you have to think about travel, and they're in school, and they're still going to have to find some time to train with you and the strength staff, right? So from there, if you have these options available to you that can still train the qualities you want to train, push strength in the proper direction that you want to go in during that season, but can also minimize mileage, and it's just not going to give as much wear and tear as a normal bar will, man, I think if you have options as far as like maybe the two more common ones you're going to see are going to be safety bars and some type of neutral grip bar. I do think if you have those available to you, I think it's going to be worth your weight in gold as a strength coach to try to find a way to incorporate that within your training. Also too, why is it important to bring these bars in during, say, like an off-season period or a period away from competition? If you have these bars and you don't get your athletes exposed to them in some form or fashion, some capacity throughout like a non-competitive part of the year, the last thing you want to do is introduce some new type of stimulus while they also have a competitive season to handle and to contend with. So get your athletes, if you have these bars available, man, get your athletes exposed to it. Again, you can start low ball it as a starting point, get your volume through your sets. It can either be a dynamic effort option or a secondary option, depending on what kind of system or what kind of program you like to run. And that way, throughout the course of the calendar year, man, that's going to set you up during the in-season period to be able to push strength and push certain qualities that you and your staff feel you need to train during that part of the year, again, without minimizing mileage and minimizing fatigue. That way you don't affect ultimately what goes on a Saturday or on game, whatever sport you work with. You don't affect what goes on during a competitive day on game day.